since she had already asked. There you
Okay,
go.
now it's recording. Okay, so should I start with purpose?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I think purpose kind of states the whole, it's kind of where everything begins. It's your goal and your objective, or also like your motives or your functions to why you're doing what you're doing. The purpose is always specific, because it's difficult to know what you want to reach if it's not specific. So you have to know exactly what you want to do in order to reach that goal. Um, so it should always be focused and clearly stated. The purpose should be measurable so you know how long exactly it's going to take, or even if it is accomplishable, basically. You don't want to have a purpose or a goal if it's not reachable. The purpose helps us concentrate our thinking, create your purpose, and make that goal, basically. And some questions you can ask about purpose is, what is my purpose? What is their purpose in doing blank? Why is this person doing what they're doing? Um, what is the purpose of this meeting? What is your central aim in this line of thought? What is the purpose of this education, or what is this purpose of this lesson? Um, Ways to use in teaching. I think the main one that we all kind of know and familiarize ourselves with is like your objective in teaching. Every day at the beginning of a lesson, you write your objective on the board just so the students have like a clear, kind of like a clear understanding of what needs to be accomplished and what they're learning. So that's kind of the main thing that I put for teaching it in the classroom. Um, what else? Yeah, I put the objective will be the focal point of a lesson plan and the foundation of what you build your lesson on. It gives students a clear and precise goal of what is to be achieved and learned by the end of the lesson. So that's it for purpose.
Okay.
So then Ileana with question at issue.
Yes, I did question at issue. This basically explains for you to be aware what you're gonna ask, to be clear, to be on topic. You're gonna be asking in a way that everybody understands, and if not, change your wording. So, everybody understands things differently, of course. So what I wrote is the critical element of thinking. The question at issue is an element approach that approaches techniques to articulate a question. It is crucial to consider that there is an answer to the question. Recognize that not everyone answers questions the same way, even though the same question is inclined. Remember to make a relatable question to the topic. Now, question at issue, critical thinking element can be used in the classroom when teaching any academic subject in a way that you need to consider grade level wording to form questions for students to understand. Be cautious of how to deliver an uncomplicated question that young students can understand also. Keep in mind if the questions you are asking is the question you want to ask. Assure students when you are asking for an opinion, not a right or wrong answer. When necessary, direct a question in different ways to avoid confusion. So that is explanatory, I think.
Okay. And then I have information. And so for information, it says that it is all based on data, information, and evidence. That you want to limit claims made by information to those that can be backed by the data. Information needs to be clear, it needs to be concise, it needs to be relevant, and it needs to be accurate. Things that are included within the realm of information are facts, data, evidence, or experiences that happen while trying to figure things out. And then it's important to note that not all information that is provided is correct. So that needs to be checked, which is part of just double checking your data, your information, your evidence to make sure it is true. And then for ways that it can be used in the classroom based on the example questions, one way that I came up with would be in a math class. You would take a word problem and ask the students to find what data within the problem is relevant to the problem being presented. This would be helpful since a lot of word problems will throw in information that is not needed to answer the question in order to try to confuse you. And then another way would be to use it in a literature classroom. You could have a story printed with a relevant question attached. After answering the question, I would ask them to go through and highlight the information in the story that led them to the answer that they gave.
Okay.
And that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, I think I go again, the interpretation and inference. Okay. The critical thinking element of interpretation and inference suggests that we be prepared for consequences when wrongly interpreting others' ways of communication. Inferencing to have a reasonable solution when enduring an unexpected judgment of one's character. Anticipate promptly and solve a dilemma of misconfusion. The interpretation of inference critical thinking elements can be used in a classroom when teaching any academic subject. While teaching a subject, be prepared to answer unexpected questions students might ask. Be ready to cause and effect class solution distractions when students lose focus on lectures. Mindful of the significance of students' pros and cons interaction on questioning academic material. Contemplate realistic repercussions and anticipate an answer. Be mindful of the probable use of this thinking element when interacting with parents. You know, sometimes it's like telling you to be ready. Then sometimes you get caught off guard. And sometimes students might ask something not relevant to what you're teaching them, you know, to cause like distractions. Just to be mindful to be ready for any of those situations.
And then next I had concepts, and the basis of that is that reasoning can be expressed and shaped through concepts and ideas. We need to be able to mark key concepts, and you have to be able to explain them in a way that's clear and concise for students. Always try to have backup concepts that work as an alternative and other definitions to try to help further elaborate on the concepts you have. All concepts should be used in a precise way. Concepts can be ideas, theories, laws, principles, or hypotheses that are used to help make sense of certain things. They need to be used clearly. They need to be able to be justified. And then one way that you can use concepts would be in an ELA class where you have an assignment to write a story using 5 or more literary terms. Once the students have finished this assignment, they would trade papers with a partner and read the traded papers. The students would be asked to identify the 5 literary terms within their partner's paper and asked if the term is being used in the appropriate manner.
Oh, it's my turn. So, now I have assumptions. Um, Assumptions refer to the things that you form an opinion on based on a personal feeling or personal or past experience. You can use assumptions in teaching. They come in many different times while you're teaching. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's just a feeling or a thought, and sometimes it's said out loud. But some ways that you can use it is when there is a child who is struggling, you will be using your assumption skills to find something that you think will help them. They may not verbally say, hey, this book will help me, but you assume that they would like this book, so you're gonna give them that book. When you're trying to come up with a solution on how to help fix a child's behavior, you have to assume why the child is acting that way so that you can find a solution. And when you're creating assignments or lesson plans or anything that revolves around the day, at the beginning of the school year before you get to know your children. You're assuming that the children will enjoy the assignment and that they will grasp it because you're not sure what level they're at when you first start. And that's pretty much it on assumptions.
Is it implications right next? Okay.
Yes.
So implications are basically claims or truths. It's where your logic comes in, basically, of kind of once you've come to a conclusion, what happens next. So implications are truths or claims that logically follow other claims or truths. Implications follow from thought, where consequences follow from actions. It's kind of like the what if stage. When you come to a conclusion or a solution, we think of what logically comes next or what could happen next. And this is where implications and consequences come into play. Always be sure that your implications and consequences make logical sense, that they follow from the reasoning that you follow the reasoning you have done with the other elements of thought. Don't contradict your thoughts, basically. So it's kind of wraps into the other 8 elements and making sure that they all logically, like, you did this because of this, basically. It kind of ties into back to your purpose. And then I put, when teaching a subject, implications and consequences can play a huge role when students are trying to learn a concept. They can use different implications and consequence methods by asking themselves, if I do this, what might happen? Like, what would be the consequence? Or like, if they're solving a problem, if I use this strategy, what would happen? If, like, what answer could I possibly get? So it's kind of the what if stage. So that's it for that one.
It's point of view, right? Okay, yeah. So now I have point of view. Point of view refers to the things that you can see and then how you feel about the things that you see and the things that are also happening around you in your personal life, at school, wherever. A way that you can use it in teaching is you can teach your children about point of view by reading a book and discussing whose point of view the book is in. Sometimes the book's point of view is with the author, or the author is writing the point of view of a specific character. So that's one way you can use point of view. You can also teach them how to see things in other people's point of views, like if they're having a fight with a friend and you want them to see why maybe something hurt them, you can teach them how to look at it in their point of view, like how their friend might have felt about a comment, an action, whatever, or about people in history's point of views about how they may have felt in that time. And also you can use it to evaluate how you should react in a situation, or to reflect on how you did react in a situation. And yeah, that's it for point of view.
Okay, I think that covers all of them.
So do
Yeah.
I pause the recording, right?
Yeah.